Well, good evening, and we begin tonight with a story just into the newsroom. A former coach at David Douglas High School has been arrested for alleged sex abuse.
Police say 26-year-old basketball coach Devontae Carter had inappropriate contact with two juvenile victims. Officers say they first learned of this in December. The school district fired him shortly after. Carter was arrested today in Texas. He'll be brought back to Oregon to face charges. Investigators say he also coached at various basketball camps around Portland. The David Douglas School says it's cooperating with police. We will update you with more details when Carter makes a court appearance in Portland.
To our other top story this evening, a sign of improvement in Oregon schools after the pandemic caused setbacks and struggles. A report out today shows after a year of decline, Oregon's high school graduation rate is now slightly up. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. This report has some good news and bad news. And if you ask district superintendents, there's a lot of work still to be done. Daisy Caballero joins us tonight to talk about both the state and local graduation rates. Daisy, break down the numbers for us.
Yeah, David, Laurel, Oregon saw its second highest on-time graduation rate in 2022. It was up nearly 1% from 2021.
I think the graduation rate is an important indicator, but I think what you're hearing is we have to think and go upstream.
Oregon's latest high school graduation rate is out and shows a small but positive improvement. It went from 80.6% in 2021 to 81.3% last year.
We're pleased. We're not totally satisfied until every single student is walking across the stage. So clearly we still have work to do.
Portland Public Schools Superintendent Guadalupe Guerrero sat down with Brenda Braxton on this week's episode of Straight Talk and said these numbers are promising but still need some work. PPS is one of the largest school districts in Oregon, and its four-year graduation rate grew by 1.3%, from 84.4% in 2021 to 85.7% last year.
If we stay focused and we make sure that our efforts, our investments, and the adequate resources to be able to do that work, we think every student can be successful.
The state saw graduation improvements among Latino and Indigenous students. Both groups saw a 2% increase. But that unfortunately wasn't the case over at the Salem-Keizer School District, a highly Latino-populated school district, where they saw a graduation decline of 1.1% compared to 2021.
As educators, we know what to do. So what I would say is we need to join as a state, commit to high quality education, fund that appropriately, make sure we have funded mental health systems for our kids, and then give us the time with kids.
Salem-Keizer schools saw an 11% increase in migrant students last year. And while many are learning English as their second language, Superintendent Perry says with better resources and time, positive change is ahead.
For us, our English, we have a lot of English language learners, so we are looking not only at third grade reading but fifth grade reading because we want our kids to be bilingual kids, and so we need a little bit more time.
Statewide, Black students showed a much smaller graduation rate. Their rate grew only 0.2% from last year, with just 74% of Black students graduating on time. But at the local level, Portland Public Schools saw a nearly 4% graduation rate increase within their Black students.
Now, Hillsborough School District also released some of their graduation numbers and found 86% of their high school seniors graduated in 2022. That's less than 1% away from their district's all-time high of 87% graduation rate in 2020. David, Laurel.
And you can see that full Straight Talk episode tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Thank you, Daisy. For 2 years during the pandemic, the federal government allowed all students free meals at school. But that has ended. Now lawmakers in Washington state are considering a pair of bills that would make school meals free for all students regardless of family income. Tim Gordon's here with more on that. And Tim, this is a big step.
It really is, Laurel. You know, sponsors of House Bill 2012-38 and Senate Bill 5339 call this the Washington Hunger-Free Kids Act, and it's just getting started. If it passes, Washington will join California and Maine in feeding all kids at school at no charge to families. We've known for a long time that eating well is good for a kid's health and their ability to learn.
The biology of a young person, no matter whether you're on the developmental cycle, a 5-year-old or an 18-year-old, if they lack calories during learning, it's a significant distraction for them.
Washington State School Superintendent Chris Rakedahl announced a plan last September to cover breakfast and lunch for all of Washington's 1.1 million students, regardless of family income. Now that plan is backed up with 2 bills just getting their start in the Washington legislature. It would have the state pay $86 million annually to cover the meals of the remaining 330,000 students not covered under federal programs.
It's this tipping point of, isn't it more efficient to just say to everybody, come to school and eat? That's part of basic ed. That's the way Europe does it. That's the way Asia does it. The whole globe has just said part of going to school is you eat.
During the first 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, waivers from the federal government allowed all students to eat free of charge. But starting this school year, those waivers went away, requiring the 330,000 students and their families to start paying again or apply to determine if they qualify for free or reduced meals. This plan would level the playing field, and proponents say, end the stigma around who's getting a free lunch and who's not by feeding everyone's body and mind.
We're simply saying, take it down to 0. Now it's time to go the full step. Let's get rid of that administrative burden. Let's get rid of the shaming.
Washington lawmakers already passed legislation last year to pay for meals for students in districts where at least 40% of families qualify for free or reduced meals. And that's about half of all the schools in the state. So these bills coming up are really an extension of that. And we'll keep you posted on how that goes.
Yeah, stigma is such an important thing to consider there. Thank you, Tim. In North Portland, police say a man was shot and killed in his car. We'll show you the damage to the vehicle as it was towed away in the Arbor Lodge neighborhood. You can see bullet holes and shattered windows there. Officers say they found the man dead inside the vehicle around 2:30 this morning near the intersection of Curtis and Bryan Streets. No word yet on any arrests.
Portland City Council has agreed to spend more than $600,000 on private security at City Hall. The money will be used to pay for 3 new armed guards through June of next year. The council unanimously voted in favor of the move yesterday. However, there haven't been specifics yet on why the guards are being hired. A city spokesperson told the Oregonian the purpose is to improve safety and security.
In our homeless crisis, the point-in-time count is now underway. We told you yesterday how Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas counties are all doing this at the same time. Today, we're heading across the Columbia to take a closer look at Vancouver. Blair Best is in the newsroom tonight. And Blair, these counts are chiefly about figuring out where all the money is going to go.
David, that's really the whole point of these surveys, and unfortunately they aren't the most accurate since they take place over such a short period of time. But nonetheless, it's important information, especially since homelessness is getting worse in areas like Clark County. This count takes place on one day every January. At the same time, Clark County has a health and resource fair where homeless people can get haircuts, health care, even apply for housing. Meanwhile, hundreds of volunteers are also canvassing the streets, talking with the homeless people there. Also included in the count are people in transitional housing and shelters.
Is just an opportunity to say, okay, every January, this is what homelessness is in Clark County and communities all over the country.
Ask about the current living situation. Where will you stay tonight? Is this your first time homeless? And then, how many episodes of homelessness have you had in the past 3 years?
Now, the county will use all the data collected to try and get federal funding to help with this crisis. The results of this point-in-time count will be released in May. David, Laurel.
Thank you, Blair. Petty crime across the city of Portland is having a huge impact on small businesses. As if that's not enough, the price of goods are, in some cases, more than they've ever been. The owner of Fried Egg, I'm in Love, can certainly speak to both of those issues. Bryant Clerkley spoke with him last week and followed up with him today. Bryant, what happened since you first talked to him?
Hey, Laurel. Well, last week we spoke to the owner about the increasing cost of eggs. Fried Egg, I'm in Love has a food cart on North Mississippi. He says the day after our story aired, someone stole a bunch of eggs that had just been dropped off. Owner Jace Krause says last Thursday he woke up to a picture his employees sent. You could see half of a box of eggs were gone. At this time, Jace is paying double the price for eggs he was a year ago. Krause says this particular food truck has had a lot of issues with petty crime. He says the pod has an open layout and anyone can walk in at night. Luckily, he did not have to close his food truck the day of the theft.
Everyone's struggling to try and just make ends meet and run a business, and it's already challenging enough trying to run a business. We don't need that extra crap with it, just give us a break.
And now, if that theft wasn't enough, in the same week, someone also vandalized the Fried Egg I'm in Love sign outside the restaurant on Hawthorne Street, which is going to cost a lot of money to fix. Krause says he did not call the police to report the egg thefts because he knows police are busy dealing with more serious crimes. He says if the theft continues, he might have to raise prices again, but he doesn't want to do that. Laurel, David.
Yeah, you can understand that. Really tough for small businesses like his. Thank you, Bryant.